Welcome back to another episode of the RAG Report podcast, my daily bulletin show where I bring to you recruitment owners, advisors, suppliers, even investors around the world who are prepared to tell you what they're up to right now and give their take on what's going on with the current pandemic and how we can all come through this stronger as an industry. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Ben Nader. Or is it Nader? Nader.
You got it right. Yeah,
I got it right. I keep getting it right. This guy is a recruiter in Seattle. He's the owner of Seattle Search Solutions, which is a generalist agency specializing in the Seattle area. So his niche is the location. What interests me about Ben is he's not just he wasn't a recruiter before, and he launched his business with having never worked in recruitment. And once he hit six figures, he created a program online called the Six Figure Recruiter, where he helps other people who've never worked in recruitment set up their own agency, which I think, coming from the UK market, knowing how we work, it's crazy, but I'm super excited to get into it. Before we start, I want to give a quick word to my sponsor, Rise Recruitment Ventures. These guys are two guys, Alex and John, who built and sold Liquid Personnel in 2016. They took it from 2 people to over 100 staff, 140 million turnover, and made 20 million in the exit. They're now looking to help either new startups or early stage recruitment agencies learn from all of their mistakes and expertise, and also benefit from the capital to do similar things. So if you've got a plan to grow, scale, and exit inside 10 years, then these guys might be able to help. Reach out to them at www.riserv.co.uk and they'll get in touch with you ASAP. Let's get back to the show. So Ben, welcome to the RAG Report.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate being able to be the guest of honor for today.
No problem. And Nader. Nader is the name, right?
Yeah, Nader is the name. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a really simple spelling, but every time I read it differently.
Right. Everyone wants to pronounce the ending in a different way, but yeah, it's just flat Nader. Just, in the USA, people will know Ralph Nader, but in the UK, of course, they might not know US.
Unfortunately, I've never heard of him, so that's my lack of knowledge. But Ben, look, mate, thanks so much for coming on. First question I ask everyone on this show is, what the hell is your life like right now? So can you paint the picture for my guests? What's going on in the world? Like, if I close my eyes, what's your life like today?
Absolute chaos. It's just insanity. It's chaos. It's chaos with a ton of boredom.
Really?
I'll put it that way. So it's a mixture between the two. So things are extremely chaotic as far as, trying to work with brand new clients, trying to do a lot of reach out, trying to do a lot of biz dev and getting things ramped back up, find out who's working, who's not, who's open, who's not, because, in the US, they're doing the phase out, right now, or the phase in, with companies. So my clients, I'm talking to them and finding out, hey, are you going to be needing people, when and how and how many and all that stuff. So that's slowly coming about. So that leads to a lot of boredom because, it's kind of like, we'll get back to you. Right. So, and then of course I have the program. And so that keeps me really, really busy. So I'm quite lucky actually, because, of course I kind of have a dual business, right? So I work on 2 things at once. So I have a lot of students, a lot of people that I teach recruitment to. So I work with them and I do one-on-ones and all that, like, constantly. So I'm really, really busy. That's where the chaos comes in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it looks like for me.
It's great. It's great that you've kind of got that second income stream and business, especially at a time where recruitment globally is probably slowed down by about 80%. It's keeps you busy. What are you seeing people still wanting to launch new agencies without experience despite the pandemic?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, most definitely. People have always been interested in recruitment. Since I started the group and my YouTube and stuff, like, people have always connected with me and they're like, hey, can you share some of your templates with me? Or can I get in contact with you? Can I pick your brain? That type of deal. And I've seen so much interest in it, and still it's still been the same level. It hasn't dropped off, or no one's just completely shut the spigot off or anything like that. Tons of people are still interested. So
crazy.
It's good. Yeah, so, I like it.
Tell me, so for the listeners' benefit, we don't have to go into the full story because we're going to do this later, aren't we? But how the hell did you become a recruitment owner having never worked in recruitment? Like, tell us what happened.
Yeah, so it's a really simple story. I mean, it's actually quite classic. I literally went insane. I was in sales for 5 years, cold call advertising sales. So I'd be on the phone, 80 dials a day, 3 hours of talk time on the phone, selling small businesses, advertising packages. And the advertising product was not that good. So it was hard to get behind the product, very demoralizing. And I was there for about 2.5 years. Then I went to a SaaS company. We were selling an app, and was there for a year before their mid-market sales department had to be laid off. I was part of that. Then I moved to a vendor of Microsoft, and that was a very, very boring position to be in. So I had about 6 hours of free time at that role. And in that time, being an entrepreneur, right, you just have to do something, right? You always have the urge. You're like, what can I do to make money? What new idea can I materialize here? So what I did was I said, screw it. I'm going to start a recruiting agency. It had never come up on my radar. I knew a few friends that worked at Aerotech and Robert Half and what have you. And all these big guys, I knew what they did. And I had really good sales skills. I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I had really good sales skills, closing skills. I knew people. I knew the phone. I knew communication. And I put 2 and 2 together, and I said, hey, listen, I'm going to do this. So I literally just started reaching out, like cold Facebook reach out. Like we're talking like almost like ghetto level here. Like it was like cold Facebook messaging, like a plumbing company. And, finding out, hey, do you have any needs? 10% fee, like flat out, and they'd get back to me. And all of a sudden I got my first deal in 2 weeks. Somebody needed a secretary. It was a $4,000 fee. Took that $4,000. My next company was a transportation company. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, okay, I know how to use Facebook. I know how to use Craigslist, Indeed. I set up my email signature, my website, my professional email, all of that. My next deal was $37,000. And so I reinvested everything into the business. And I got tools like Zoom Info and, like really strong databases. And so I basically 10x'd my outreach, right? And that's when things get really serious and it scaled.
Did you have a LinkedIn account at the time?
Oh yeah. I've had a LinkedIn account, but of course I optimized that, straight away when I really got serious. I optimized that to be Seattle Search Solutions and whatnot and all that. So I put that all together and basically just started scaling, beyond that. After I got that 37,000, that second deal, that's when I was like, man, recruitment is real. This is wild. So that's what really hit it for me.
When it came to the process of screening candidates, interviewing people, representing people, sending CVs, resumes, as you would call them, negotiating, holding, managing the process, negotiating offers, people counter offers and rejection and all. You had no experience in any of that.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Had you ever done it? Had you ever managed the interview process at a company just internally?
No, no, I hadn't. But here's what I did do. I'll tell you this. So here's my forte, I guess, that I could say into recruiting. At one of the sales companies I worked for, I worked for about 3 of them over 5 years. And at one of the sales companies, they offered spiffs, I don't know if that translates it. Right?
No.
A little bonus, a little kickback for bringing in a new hire. Right.
Oh, okay. So, we call it a referral, internal referral fee.
Referral. Right. Yeah.
Spiff.
So
a spiff. That sounds very like, I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's a spiff. That's something you do in an American movie.
Yeah. So a referral bonus. So there were $500 a head. So what I did is I created a Facebook group, not the Facebook group I run today. It's a totally different group. And it was for Seattle job seekers, basically. And so my grand plan, and I schemed this up like from scratch. And I was like, listen, I'm going to create this Facebook group. I'm going to have a ton of people add their friends and random people into it and whatever. And I'm going to monopolize the whole group. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer this position, and I'm going to say, hey, looking for sales representatives, account executives, right? Pay is, $23 an hour plus uncapped commission. paid vacations, blah, 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 blah. And I monopolized it in a way that I didn't let any other recruiters or talent acquisition or anyone else in. It was just me. I might have let like one or two other people in that were in different spaces, but I put myself out in as the main guy. So I let all these job seekers get in, right? And I would continuously post this. And basically what happened is over the course of a year, it was around 2014, basically in 1 year, I think I brought in 25 people hired, which is not magnificent numbers or anything, but for just referral.
So you're making 12 grand off that?
Yeah, $500 a pop on 25. So I referred all these people. It actually beat the record of the internal recruitment team at the company. Yeah. They hired less people than I did personally myself.
And your Facebook group. All right.
Off of the Facebook group. So a little sneaky like en route to get people hired. So what I did is I actually sort of kind of like coached some of the people because I knew the process inside and out. I knew what they the hiring process. I knew what they did. Okay, so I wasn't talent acquisition. I wasn't a recruiter. I was just a sales guy, right? But I knew enough about what they do in the interview. So I would coach people through the process and tell them, hey, they're going to ask you this, this, and this. Here are all three answers, right? And so I would say this, you'll get hired. Yeah. So, and they would hate me watching this podcast, but now, so everybody would get hired. So they all got hired.
I've got a really different but similar story. When I was 21, I finished uni and I went into sales. Then I went into teaching. So I got into being a supply teacher, like a substitute teacher, before being a qualified teacher. And I didn't even know it at the time, but I went in via a big agency called Select, which is part of Randstad. And they would put me into schools all over the area. And I got introduced to another agency, a really small, like 4-man boutique. And I went and met them, just registered as a teacher. They put me out for a day. I did quite well. But they didn't have anywhere near the volume of schools that the big agency had. So the guy said to me, you can chat. He said, why don't you, if you can get me a school from where you're going through the bigger agency, I'll pay you for it. And I was like, what do you mean? They were like, well, I'll pay you £100 or whatever. So I would go in via the big agency and say, look, if you want me back, use these guys because I'll get paid more and you get paid less. You pay less. Right. What I didn't realize at the time though is I never went back to the same school through him, and he must have known there was a covenants period that I couldn't break. So he would always say, "Oh, Sean's not available, but we have another teacher." So, but I think I brought him about 40 schools in 6 months, and he was paying me £100 a school. It's not a lot of money, but at the time I was,
But the principle.
I remember on a night out, he bought me a bottle of champagne, and I was like, at the time, I was like, well, that looks like it's expensive. And he must have been like, this kid is driving me all sorts. So anyway, when I moved to Australia, he came in really handy because I needed like direct sales experience to get a visa. And he was a reference. And he said, look, he basically said I was a sales rep, which I was without the official title. So, I think sometimes recruitment is almost in your blood, isn't it? It's like you kind of naturally, or sales anyway, you do it without knowing it, I think.
Yeah. I definitely feel that way. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you either have a knack for like connecting with people in a certain way or you don't, right? Like, us talking on this podcast right now, there's a conversation, there's a vibe, right? And maybe you probably have conversations with people where there's just like a totally kind of dead vibe, and it's either there or it's not, so I feel like to be a really good recruiter, to be able to kind of like snap to it, you have to be proactive. I think you have to be a quick thinker. I think you have to be creative, and I think that you have to be ambitious. And so I know that I have all those things. I practice those things all the time. Obviously, I'm in several ventures. And so, for me, like that came easy, because it's like, hey, a way to make money, no questions asked. Let's go. What's step one? So like, it's in your blood. Yeah, it really is.
When did you start the agency? When was the opening of the Seattle Search Solutions? What was the door?
So, Seattle Search basically started in late 2016.
Right.
So We're in about 4.5 years now since I officially began sending out emails and stuff, and started, however you want to say it. But I started it while I was in a position, right? So I started it at work, which I find interesting because people always ask me, is this something I can do while I have a 9 to 5? Well, of course it is. Well, I mean, either way, if you do it after work or if you do it during work, I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody to go, do things at work. But if you have, I read a statistic recently. It was from a very credible source. I forget who it was exactly, but it said the average American worker in America only works 2.5 true work hours per day. And I was mind blown. And like, it totally seems true and accurate, like completely. Given how much people are on Facebook or just like on their phone or just not working, just, kind of, daydreaming or whatever. But people have a lot of free time and they don't put it to good use.
A quick interruption of the episode to bring to you a message from our second sponsor, which is Odro. Odro, as most of you probably know, is the world's most powerful all-in-one video interview platform for recruiters. Used by thousands of recruiters worldwide and with some of the industry's biggest names amongst its client base, Odro is a video interview platform. It was developed specifically to help agencies increase their revenues. The most innovative solution on the market, Odro's software helps recruiters to engage more talent, reduce time to hire, and most importantly, it helps you win business. You'll even get the ROI back from investing in Odro within just 45 days. It's designed to benefit everyone in the process, so from recruiters to clients to candidates, Odro's platform is improving the hiring process one interview at a time. We chose to partner with Odro because we felt like both brands, Hoxo and Odro, were in such a clear alignment in the way that we approach everything we do and how passionate we are about helping this industry grow. If you want to find out more about how Odro can help your agency transform its process and win more business, win exclusivity and drive revenue, then click the link on the podcast notes and every social post that goes out, and you will get a call back by one of the Odro guys. They are awesome, and I'm sure they'll be able to offer some amazing value to your business. Thanks for listening. Let's get back to the show.
People have a lot of free time and they don't put it to good use.
No, of course.
That's the entrepreneur in me, or maybe the Gary V channeling.
So when you started at Seattle and you were sending those closed Facebook messages and stuff, that you were 100% like doing that then? You weren't doing it on the side?
No, I was doing it on the side.
All right. So you were still working?
I was still working full time. Yeah. So I would work full time. I would do it at work on my phone. I would literally just use my phone. The other day, I did a YouTube video, how you can run a 6-figure business on your smartphone, which is 100,000% true. Would you agree? I mean, literally.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I've ever done it to that level, but I think
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I think.
There's enough apps out there where you can literally just do everything you need to do. So what I was doing I was doing cold emails. I had templates set up on my notes. It was copy paste. I mean, I just did this whole thing, probably got carpal tunnel, but long story short, I was doing that all at work. And then, after work, of course, same thing, I'd get off work, spend maybe 2.5 hours relaxing, eat something, and then, get to work, and just work for another 4 hours or so and then go to bed. And, you've got to be dedicated, I mean, when you're really trying to start something up and be successful, you have to be dedicated. And, that's one of the biggest things for me, ultimately. At the end of the day, when I look back to when I first started and got success, and to me, success was basically making a big chunk of money in the first 6 months. And I was able to be looking back and saying, wow, I really put in that effort and hustled.
Yeah. So you got to like 100K in 6 months. And then was that when you started thinking about coaching other people at that point? Or did you kick on for longer as a recruiter solely?
I kicked on for a bit longer. I kicked on for probably the next 6 months. After that, next 6 months, maybe even a little bit more, probably about almost another year, probably about I don't know, 9 months or so. So then I decided, to start that.
So why did you start thinking about retraining other people to do it even?
So if we put it like this, I came from a sales background. I mean, it was cold call sales. So, you come in the door, they hand you a script. They say, here's the script. All right. Go off of the script until you know it well enough that you can do it on your own and come from your own voice. And it's as easy as that. And that's just what you do. So you start selling advertising, and that's all you do. And it really, $80,000 is like an amazing year at that role. And so when I left that basically, and when I kind of moved and pivoted out of that, basically for me, it was like, I kind of just looked at it as like, what was your original question?
So what made you suddenly go, I'm going to train other people? Because you're so early on in this career. You've already made, like, if you've made more in 6 months than you would in a year, why wouldn't you just double down and make 4 times, 5 times and stick as a recruiter? Why would you suddenly start looking at a second revenue stream?
Right. Yes. So a lot of factors. So when I started doing it, the way I realized to teach other people was that I looked inside myself and I realized that the job I had been doing, right? You come in the door and essentially they, throw you a script, right? And they say, here's your script. Read this script, call a bunch of people, sell them advertising. Very, very simple, right? And essentially over 2.5 years at that sales company, I owe almost everything to my past sales history, right? Because it taught me so much. And what I realized is that anybody with a strong sales background and they know how to close, they know how to, talk to people, they know how to work people, they know how to, really good communication skills, things like that. If anybody has that, plus ambition, plus drive, plus, motivation, that they can do the exact same thing that I just did. And the kind of entrepreneur that I am is, I didn't look at it like sharing. Obviously, I created a business, right? So my program is something that obviously has a cost to it, but it's an investment, right? People are getting, clients and things. So I realized once it was kind of that once I could do it, anybody could do it. So let me teach this to other people, because I realized I put 2 and 2 together that, hey, if I did this, why wouldn't anyone at my previous position, who I knew, even people that were doing better than myself, if they have the same entrepreneurial drive, and I know that, there's millions of people out there in the world that do, they can do the same thing. So I said, why not teach this? So, that's when I decided to basically really meticulously put everything into a total curriculum. What I call the blueprint is kind of how I set it out. What do you need? The steps and all that.
So what's in this blueprint? What do you actually offer people?
Yeah, so what we do is it's a 6-week program, and basically there's 12 modules, pre-recorded modules, with all kinds of content, basically from start to finish, like online presence. Okay, how do you set up a good website? How do you optimize your LinkedIn? How do you legalize your business? Right? What do you need as far as licensing goes? And then second module will be things about what's the recruiting value proposition, right? So I tell people a lot about what recruiting actually means. Why do people need recruiters? And the analogy I like to use for that is always often, hey, why would a company, because people ask me, hey, why will a company use a recruiter if they could just do it themselves? Well, I don't know. Would you cut your own hair? No. The answer is probably no, right? So you would outsource that to a specialist that knows how to do it very well and can get it done really quickly, and that's that. So, in much more depth, obviously, but the modules give everyone really kind of what they need to know as a core base. And then, of course, I do a live Zoom component where we do live coaching, and then I do one-on-one mentorship with all my students. So,
and are they all over the US or all over the world?
All over the US and actually globally, yeah. So we've had people from England, people come in from what was it? The not the West Indies. What are the British Islands? British Virgin Islands.
Right, British Virgin Islands. Right, yeah.
Yeah, and then India as well.
Interesting. So, do you don't have to take a cut of their businesses or anything like that? It's just a pure training program. It's just an educational program, as opposed to you're not setting them up and you're a
shareholder. No. No. People, they come in, they pay, of course, a fee to be in the program, right? Like it's I don't like to call it a course. It's, but it's a course program, whatever you want to call it. But no, after that, no, it's all about them going and ultimately, really, my goal is to have them go hit six figures. I mean, I want to see somebody in the program really grab a client, make a big placement, and make a big win, and then go rinse and repeat, do it again, and just scale. That's what I want to see everyone do in the program. That's what I tell them flat out day one. Hey, this is the plan. This is what we want you to do.
To me, it's just coming from the UK, where I think, recruitment in our country is probably the most advanced and the most saturated in the world, right? I feel like we started it. Yeah, the US is full of recruiters from the UK. Australia, all the leadership functions in almost the whole of the country is British. I've got clients in Thailand, in the US, in Australia. They're all English pretty much. So to us, it's like we're bred a certain way. We go into a recruitment business, we learn, we do well, we separate, we go and do our own. We create a semi different version of that business and we name it after whatever, and then we go again. But the thought of just going straight into, I can see why going from sales to recruitment works. I mean, I'm a massive believer that sales backgrounds. I own a recruitment business called Connect, which finds salespeople for recruitment businesses, right? But to go from sales to owning your own agency, I think is crazy, but I like it. I think it's quite cool. It's definitely look. I feel like, why not? Like if you've got the right attitude, I feel like there's a lot to train though. I think to be an independent, someone who can make six figures on their own, yes. To grow an agency like the guys I deal with, and that takes a lot of experience. Like be a really good recruiter that can leverage people and build networks and grow a scalable organization. I think you need to lean on some real knowledge there.
Oh yeah, I know about 50 really top caliber recruiters, and I know of those 50, I think probably maybe 2 are billing $1 million a year. They're solo. Maybe 2 of those 50. Just about that ratio. It's very, very small, right? Yeah, you have to have some seriously different blood running inside of you to be at that level.
But you don't help people with things like people management and growing divisions, and it's more you are an independent. It's all about being an independent, right?
Correct. Yeah. So so basically, like the ideal person that joins in is, let's say, someone leaving corporate recruiting and they hate it. They're like, this is just terrible. I have a base salary that sucks and it's like $50K, and like I know that I could go solo and just kill it because they have the skills, they have the know-how, right? But they've got this mindset issue, which is 99% of what it all is. In almost anything, right? Or your agency already, and you're like, well, I just saw a 50,000 deal get closed, and I pocketed 1,500. That sounds fun. Well, no, that's not that fun. Well, you should be pocketing much more. So a lot of people like that, that are frustrated, and they're like, man, I can do so much more. Like I called on that client. I even found the candidate, right? And I'm still just getting XYZ cut, and it's just not enough. So, or there's the entrepreneur that says, hey, recruiting is just like it's exploding, or it's getting bigger, or it's going to be big, and I want to get in on it. So I want to start my own recruiting agency, and that might be the third demographic, that joins into the program. Ultimately, it is just meant as basically for startup recruiters, right? So, there's programs for advanced, high level, very boutique-y, type of thing where you'll get all kinds of nuanced, really heavy, in-depth, style training. This is more meant to, let's set up your agency and let's get you to 10K a month.
Yeah.
Let's go. And for a lot of people, getting just to be, a 6-figure earner is a big achievement.
Of course, of course. Let's not talk. It's disrespect. It's $100,000 or pounds a year it's big money. What have you seen from the more towards the coronavirus situation? So how has it affected the market in Seattle? What changes did you see in March and are seeing today?
Yeah, so pretty much a straight shutdown. I mean, it's just I got in contact with my clients, of course, right away. A lot of general labor, like so logistics, warehouse guys, transportation, etc. And I called, my hiring managers, asked them what their status was, what their marching orders were, because obviously they have folks up above their head. So I said, hey, what's going on? And at first, they were letting me know, hey, we think we're going to open back up, and this was probably a month ago. They were saying, hey, we think we're going to open back up, and we're going to start needing a lot of temps. And I actually fund temps. That's part of my portfolio for Seattle Search. But then they started telling me we're halting now. We're on a total freeze. We're operational, but we're halted. We're not bringing on new people right now because the business is so slow. And a lot of times in logistics and all that stuff, they're literally, bringing in product from China and, taking on components and, all kinds of distribution and whatnot from China. And so with that going on, there's a whole other level, of politics and trade and this and that, and things just don't work. They can't function. So big slowdown. But of course, coming just from a general perspective, we have things slowly opening up now. So some restaurants are opening up at like 50% capacity, so like dine in, but like half of the people can be in the restaurant type of deal. But most of my friends and people that I know and general, just office workers are all working from home still. And they haven't really heard from their companies what the future is going to look like for that yet. Obviously, we all heard the news yesterday about Twitter, which is quite fascinating. I'm sure that everyone at Twitter gets to work from home forever, which is, I'm sure their application.
Well, was it Google said that as well?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they did.
Yeah, I believe Google did as well. What does that mean for their investment? I bet their offices in in California or whatever are just incredible, and now there might not be anyone in there.
It's really crazy when you think about it. And I talked to a lot of people in New York City. I was talking to someone yesterday, and I was like, they were actually outside with their mask, like talking to me, and I was like, there must be no one around you right now. And he was like, yeah, there's like nobody out here. I didn't even know what he was doing out there, but he was just telling me that like the city's just totally blank right now. Nothing. Everyone's at home. They're all quarantined. And because New York City is the hardest hit in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
the
just
world.
In the world. It's devastating. So he told me that basically what it looks like is everyone's working at home and all that kind of stuff, and so it's really unknown. The ball is totally up in the air right now as far as what happens.
Have you seen any business at all from your client base, or has it been completely shut down?
No. So it totally it was just flatlining. I had like a placement go through, landed it, and then that was in like, I would say early March, and then that landed because it was already in the play. But after that, it was just nothing.
Yeah.
So that had stopped. So at this point now, I'm currently working, on a lot of outreach. I'm working on a lot of list building, connecting, doing all sorts of things. Because here's the truth, though. I talk to a lot, as you probably do, talk to a lot of recruiters and talent acquisition folks, and they're hiring around the country. People are hiring,
Yeah, they are.
My client base, I can say they're not hiring. But I can say that right now there are plenty of people hiring. I mean, it's not like recruiting got shut down by any means whatsoever. I've got my ear to that quite close, and people are definitely bringing people on. It's not, a total shutdown.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Look, Ben, time's basically up. My final question I want to ask you is, what do you think you've learned the most about yourself in the last 2 months?
I can say with conviction that I have probably undervalued myself by about 50% for as long as I've been able to remember. Until I started my agency and the couple of ventures I do now, I have probably undervalued myself on a personal level, just as an entrepreneur. And I think a lot of people undervalue themselves by at least half. And I think if you really, really think about that, and you're the right kind of person, you could change that. And I think a lot of people don't realize that.
How has this pandemic affected that, though? Has it made you look at yourself more?
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it has. I mean, because in a way we've sort of come into like this Hunger Games type of, weird vibe. I'm not saying it's exactly like that, but and you kind of look at things and you think, well, how would I survive if I weren't able to, go get a job or do this or that or whatever? Obviously, I'm in a different space, so that's not really like how I look at it. But if I were in that zone, I look at myself and I think, well, I need to 10x what I'm doing, because number one, I want to do that, and number two, look at kind of where the world's at right now, and I feel like I need to rely a lot more on myself and focus a lot more on myself, better myself, and just level up ultimately. And I think that that's kind of what the pandemic's done. I think it's kind of slowed people down to a pace where they can do that.
Yeah, I imagine. I think for me, it's been really about, sometimes you get frustrated with the pace at the minute, and you're like, I just want things to move, but you've got to go with it, but you got to learn about yourself. Ben, thanks so much, mate. I really enjoyed it. Are you open for anyone to reach out if they want to ask you any questions? I'm sure there'll be people after this who think, what is this guy about? I want to know more. They'll reach out. Are you open for a chat with anyone?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. They can go to my Facebook group. It's called Six Figure Recruiters, recruiters plural, because my other page is Six Figure Recruiters. So go to on Facebook, Six Figure Recruiters, join the group. You'll join a bunch of other talented recruiters and ask a bunch of questions, and you can ping me directly in there and we could chat. And yeah, so
awesome.
That's the best place to be.
All right, we'll get people to do that. Thanks so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. A bit different today. Look, if you're liking what you're hearing, I've had a few posts on LinkedIn today from people that are saying they've been walking, they've been running, they're listening to the rag for 3 hours on end, and that's why I'm doing this. Right, I want people to wake up every day in this crisis and beyond with something to listen to that's relevant to their business, their mindset. If you like it, share it. Please do get on LinkedIn. Pass it on to your friends via email, text, or WhatsApp, because together we're going to get through this as an industry. We'll be stronger if we support each other. I'll be back again tomorrow with more insights from people around the world. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.